Now, I hate to say I told you so, but I did tell you so. Anyway, hello everybody, welcome back to another one of our weekly Jujutsu Kaisen discussion videos. Today we're going to be talking all about episode 5, Curse Womb Must Die Part 2, but before we get into it, quick reminder if you haven't done so yet, to hit that dang subscribe button, ring that bell, set notifications to all, let all of AniTube know that you're here. And with that said, we're going to go ahead and get into it. And honestly, guys, a lot of stuff happened in this week's episode, but the main thing that I really want to talk about, and the thing that I assume a lot of you guys probably really want to talk about, heck, I probably made him the thumbnail, Fushiguro, as well as Itadori. But Fushiguro is probably the one I made the thumbnail. Fushiguro actually gets a significant amount of shine. Itadori probably gets the biggest moment, but the moment happens between Fushiguro and Itadori, and I don't ship it, but I have a feeling like a lot of people are going to, and I don't blame them. I see these two as more so like bro TP, and y'all know it has nothing to do with them being dudes. Most of my ships are dudes. But like I don't know. I don't see it as a shippy thing. I see this as just like two people who care very deeply about each other, but it's not necessarily romantic. And with this moment, like between them, just that moment of like I never once regretted saving you, it's so good. I'm not gonna lie to you guys. I mean, why would I at this point? But y'all know that I cry at the drop of a hat, right? I cry at everything. But it should be stated that, listen, your boy maybe got just a wee bit emotional at that line. Just like, no matter what happened, I never, like, I know what I, like, that you think that, like, I chose you or something like that. It was just reflex. It was, if anything, it was selfish. But even still, never once did I regret saving you. And it's like, oh no, my emotions, my feelings, I'm feeling. Like, that was literally me this whole episode, just, I'm feeling. I just hit my mic because I'm feeling so much. But Fushiguro in general, this whole episode just friggin' nails it, man. Like, I love that when the episode starts, we see him go like, oh, so the barrier thing is down. Or not the barrier, but like the illusion thing is down, which means, oh, okay, so the special grade must be dead, which means now I just gotta wait for Itadori to get back and, oh shit, hi Sukuna. Like right away, it's like, uh-oh, that's probably not a good thing. And the instant he sees him, obviously Fushiguro's like, I'm dead. I'm so dead, right? And we see him like shaking when he goes to face off with him. Like you see his hands rise up and he's legitimately shaking because he's like, oh God, I'm dead. Like I couldn't even face the special grade on my own, and Sukuna was the last ditch effort we were gonna use to kill the special grade. I'm toast. I'm super toast, but that doesn't matter. Because in this moment, he's like, doesn't matter. I'm a Jujutsu sorcerer. This is what I have to do. This is what I'm gonna do. And I loved that. I love that he does the same thing Itadori does, where it's like, listen, right now it's be a hero time, even though none of us are heroes. And Fushiguro specifically goes out of his way to say that he's not a hero. But I love that they just enter that mode of like, okay, listen, I know that things are scary right now, but it's be a hero time, and that's what I gotta do. I have to find a way to save Itadori while fending off Sukuna. I have to give Itadori enough time to jump back in and pilot. So you know what? I'm gonna do the dang thing. And oh, what's he doing? And yeah, then he stabs into his chest. We'll get into that when we talk a little bit more about Itadori. But yeah, Fushiguro obviously suddenly put in this position like, oh God, now what do I do? Like, now I have to try to convince him to heal himself. And it's like this situation got so much more dire, and so now Fushiguro is like combating Sukuna in what I must say is a dope fight, but it is incredibly one-sided. Like, it is super one-sided, but it's dope looking. Like Fushiguro like using his different what do they call them? His different shikigami like summoning them from the shadows to like help him fight back against Sukuna in a pretty much hopeless fight. It's pretty intense, and Sukuna is even sort of impressed by this. Like, he says, like, oh, it's not like the usual charms like these Jujutsu warriors have. Like, he's actually creating Shikigami from the shadows. And I don't know what that means. I assume we'll find out more later. But yeah, at the moment, I'm like, I don't know what that means. Is that supposed to be badass? I assume that's supposed to be badass. I don't know what that means. I felt kind of dumb for not knowing. But I guess it doesn't super matter. I say it doesn't really matter. I would like to know how the powers work. But at the end of the day, my main thing and the thing that I'm most interested in when it comes to like shonen stuff isn't so much how the power works as much as why they're using said power. And when it comes to Fushiguro, like, we see him say a number of times actually that the only thing granted equally to all is an unfair reality. And that is sort of like repeated ad nauseum during the episode and like hammered home by Fushiguro that like the only thing you are gifted equally is an unfair reality. Life is unfair for a lot of people. And we see when he's fighting Sukuna, he's thinking about somebody named Sumiki, who I assume is his sister maybe, who was cursed. He does say that his dad is still out there somewhere, but that good people are given good people who try hard are still gifted this unfair reality, and he wants to break that. And Fushiguro literally states out loud, I want good people to enjoy fairness, even if only a few, so I save people unequally. This totally makes sense given what we saw last week, where he says, like, I didn't come in here to save these people. I just came in here to figure out whether or not this was a special grade, and then I'm getting you two the hell out of here. You know what I mean? Like, that was Fushiguro's plan. Like, we are not staying. We're not saving the prisoners. Like, I know what they did, right? Like, he is not interested in saving people who he feels don't deserve it. He is a Jujutsu sorcerer, not a hero, and he's a sorcerer specifically to help gift people who are good people some fairness. Even if he can't get all the good people in the world, he wants to try to get just a few good people a little bit of a fair shake in this world. And I loved that. Like, and I loved that moment, and I loved seeing the moment between him and Itadori. And again, you know what? Maybe I might ship it, if I'm honest. Give me some time. Hit me back up in a week, and I'll tell you. But, like, I just loved that moment of, like, listen, I never regretted saving you. And, like, that's him just saying, like, you're a good person. And I never once regretted saving you. I'm not a hero. I'm just a Jujutsu sorcerer. That's who I am. And now we get to talk a little bit about Itadori. Itadori went and broke my heart this week. Itadori. So at the beginning of the fight, we see Sukuna basically just plunge his hand into his chest. And I was like, ugh, gross. Because he straight up pulls out his heart. Can't show you that. But yeah, he straight up pulls out his heart and like shows it. And he's like, yeah, I can live without this. He can't. So if he dies, then we both die. But if you want to save Itadori, which I know you do, then yeah, I'm holding him hostage. So yeah, he can't take the pilot seat. And I know that he won't because he's too much of a coward, right? Like, that's basically what Sukuna says. Like, you weren't there when he was fighting the special grade. Like, he was terrified. He was screaming. He was he was terrified. He didn't want to die, talking about regrets and all this crap. He didn't want to go, right? Like, so to Sukuna, he's thinking, like, Itadori is all talk. He said that he would, like, that he wanted to, like, he said that he was gonna collect all the fingers of Sukuna, of me. You know, like, Sukuna's thinking, like, he said he was gonna collect all my fingers. He said he was gonna die at the end of it. He wanted to protect people from dying. He wanted to help people die like a normal death. Like, he didn't want supernatural shit to affect everybody, and he talked a big game, but at the end of the day, he was just as scared as the rest of you humans, so he's not going to willingly kill himself, which means I am holding this fool hostage, right? Except no. Except no. And this to me, I was just like, yep, Itadori, top tier MC. Top tier MC. Because, and same with Fushiguro, top tier, like, main character of, like, I know that he's not like Itadori's technically the main character, but he's also like a main character. They are top tier MCs. Why? Because the best thing you can do with a character, and I know people hate Deku, but even Deku is a good example of this, is when you give the character something to be afraid of, right? Like, where there's something about something that scares them. And with Itadori and Fushiguro's case, it's they don't want to die, right? Like, who wants to die? Nobody wants to die. So when presented with death, obviously they're scared. But what makes a hero, even though they say they're not heroes, is to act in the face of fear, to still charge forward even though you're shaking. You still run ahead. And that's what Fushiguro does, as we already talked about, and it's what Itadori does here as well. Itadori basically jumps in, and that's like, as Sukuna and Fushiguro are about to start round 2, Itadori takes control, basically defying Sukuna, because Sukuna said, like, there's no way he's going to jump in. And then he does, so because Sukuna wasn't prepared for him to take back over, like, to take control of his body again, he just takes over. And so he says, like, he's like, that's good to hear. Like, you know, like, Itadori's like, that's really good to hear. And I guess I'm kind of out of time here, so just live a long life. And then he just drops, right? And it's like, goddamn, Itadori deserved better. I mean, he's very obviously not dead, but still, at the same time, like, when I saw it, in my head, I'm like, you could have killed him there, and it would have been satisfying. Like, the story would have been very short, but you could have killed him there, and I would have felt like that's satisfying, believe it or not. I really think that they nailed that moment super, super well. Itadori, just in general, just to me has proven top tier shonen protagonist status, and the way his death sort of rattles the remaining members of his team, from Fushiguro and Kujisaki all the way to Gojo, like, you see the way that this has affected them in sort of different ways. Fushiguro obviously is, like, there to see him go, so it's a little bit more traumatic for Fushiguro. Like, he is sort of, like, shaken by this, but he tries to kind of internalize it and do his best to sort of carry on, because it's what Itadori would want. He wouldn't want him moping around. And I will say, the character who I was, like, the most surprised by, like, how they reacted was Kujisaki. Kujisaki reacting by being like, I'm not some girl who's gonna cry over some dude she just met. Like, that's dumb, right? And I'm like, that's about what I expected, right? But you see her, like say, like, damn it, right? And, like, Fushiguro looks over, and they basically have a, it's starting to rain. No, it's not. Yeah, no, it's really starting to rain. Like, they have that moment where Kujisaki's just, like biting her lip and really trying not to get emotional. Like, you can see it. And Fushiguro just says, like, it's hot out today, right? And I'm like, wow. Like, that change in topic is so human, right? To be like, oh, they're really upset. It's really hot out today. Yeah, we should probably switch to summer uniforms soon. Like, just that change in topic, just because anything else is better to talk about than the fact that this person who again, they do say, like, they haven't known very long, but obviously made a big impact on them. The fact that he's gone is clearly upsetting for them, and they just need anything else to talk about. Again, another scene that I think they just handled brilliantly. And speaking of brilliantly, Gojo. Oh, shit. My dude is pissed. Like, my dude is pissed. Because when he sees the body, right, he's like, I told them if they saw this, like the dude with the glasses says, like, I told them if they saw the special grade to run. I said to run. I didn't say fight. I said run. And Gojo's like, I'm not blaming you. Like, you told them everything that they needed to know. I understand. I'm not mad at you. This was very clearly a setup. And I was like, a setup? How do you figure? Right? And he's like, it was clearly set up because I was away. They sent in the trio. Somebody didn't like that Itadori was here. So one of the higher-ups didn't appreciate that Itadori was at the school in the first place. Or the fact that he was, like, the host of Sukuna, you know? So somebody didn't like that. So they wanted to spite me for bringing him in. So they purposely waited for me to not be here, sent him up against a special grade, let him die, and if any of the others died, it would have just been further spite to me, because it would have been collateral, right? And it's like, God, somebody was that cruel? Like, I don't even know if, like, Gojo is just, like, trying to blame somebody, you know what I mean? Like, maybe he's just pissed off, and he's just like, you know what, I just need to blame somebody else, because otherwise I have to blame me, and screw that. And, yes, that was a reference. So you could tell he's just like, no, I can't be here. I have to blame somebody else, otherwise it's all my fault. And it's like, again, that's very human. Now, do I think it actually was somebody? Probably. Probably, because that'd be spicy. That'd be a spicy twist. So do I think somebody else is up to some shenanigans? Yeah, probably. And do I think Gojo is going to try to find them? Because he even says, like, I guess I just have to kill all the higher-ups myself. And it's like, God damn, Gojo. He's pissed. Because, again, like, Gojo and Itadori, I said when they first interacted, have a really, really good rapport. They very clearly, like, hit it off right away. So, of course, he's upset that this kid, like, that trusted him is dead now. And he's going to figure out what the hell's going on. Now, whatever's going on, I assume probably has something to do with the other stuff that happened this week, which I'm going to go ahead and talk about, even though I'm running out of time. You know what? In fact, I'm going to be very brief with this, because I'm just going to go ahead and talk about the new baddie. Obviously, there's some other characters that we get introduced to this week. I'll talk about them more next week. I'm going to mainly focus on the new baddie, who, to my knowledge, we didn't get a name. Did we get a name? I don't think we got a name, so I'm going to just call him Baddie for now. The new baddie is, he's a baddie. He's got these, like, really, like, distinct sort of, like, scars on the forehead. They kind of remind me of, like, something like Stein from Soul Eater, where it's just, like, this sort of, like stitches, almost. Like, I don't think they're stitches, it's just this sort of, like, I don't know if they're scars or what, but it's, like, a mark on the forehead, which I thought was pretty distinct. We also see him wearing some traditional robes and rocking this sort of like green and yellow apron-looking thing. Now, green as a color is typically meant to bring like harmony and luck, right? Whereas yellow is sort of like, it can be equated to cowardice, but it can also be sort of equated to like intellect and success, right? So I think there's something to be said there. Maybe the green in the design is meant to signify that, yes, he is trying to bring harmony to a specific group, but it's not the sorcerers. It's instead the curses, which is kind of interesting. And the yellow, maybe to show his intellect and maybe a bit of ego, to show that this character is a bit egotistical, but is able to, he has the intelligence to back that up. And we do see that he is pretty smart. He does suggest a plan that I'm like, yeah, that'd be just about how you do it. And we'll get to that in just a sec, but the character also gives off some very chill vibes. And above all else, I have to point out that he is voiced by freaking Takahiro Sakurai. And if you don't know who the great Sakurai-sama is, why, he voices characters like friggin' Reagan from Mob Psycho, Rohan from JoJo's, Aya from Fruits Basket, and Fitzgerald from Bungo Stray Dogs. I love Sakurai. So, like, the instant that I heard that voice, I'm like, ooh, I know that voice. Like, it was one of those moments that I love, where I'm watching a show, I'm like, wait a minute, I know that. This is the second time I've had that happen. First, friggin' Kiryu shows up 2 weeks ago, and now this week, friggin' Reagan shows up. Of course. I'm like, oh my god, I love it. My man walked in with the grace of Aya, but with the spooky, with the ability to deal with spooky supernatural stuff like Reagan, and the class of Rohan. You love to see it. But yeah, this man is speaking to curses, and I feel like this is definitely hyping up another, like an upcoming arc. I feel like they actually hyped up 2 separate arcs in the same episode. They hyped up a like cross-school sort of like friendly rival school battle at some point, and then they also hyped up what I assume is going to be this like Jujutsu war, right? This Jujutsu sorcerer war with the curses, where the curses are actually trying to rise up and fight back against the sorcerers, because they see themselves as the true beings on the planet, right? Because they see all the positivity that humans portray as lies, whereas their hatred and their fear is what's really real about them, and it actually brings about and manifests curses. And so curses are, you could argue, the manifestation of the true nature of mankind, which is bullshit, but like they believe that, right? So it's like, okay, like they believe that, and I get why they believe that. So of course they want to sort of rise up, right? They want to rise up against the sorcerers that hunt them down. And again, as I said, the new baddie does show off his intellect by actually giving them a pretty solid way to combat, at the very least, the branch of Jujutsu sorcerers that we know. And he tells them, take out Gojo, and then get Sukuna/Itadori on your side. And when they say, didn't he die? He even says like, yeah, did he? Good question. Right? And it zooms in, and you get that end credits shot of Sukuna being like, come on, like don't peer into me. I don't like when you do that. And it's like, yeah, of course he's not dead. Of course he's not dead. He's the main character, and he's in the OP, and he's in the OP with characters that we haven't met yet. Of course he's not dead. But I did tell you so. I said at the beginning of the video, I said it last week, that Itadori was going to be the one who died, and it was going to be some shenanigans. I even said it was going to be something to do with his heart. I said what it was going to be is that he was going to die on the table for a few seconds. But instead, he died for a good long while, but it did have something to do with his heart. In this case, the fact that the heart was missing. But I still called it, okay? It counts. But with that said, everybody, that is going to wrap up today's video here, so I hope you guys enjoyed. If you did, don't forget to boop that up snoot, share if you care, leave a comment down below, and of course, hit that subscribe button, ring that bell, set notifications to all. Let all of AniTube know that you're here. And before we go, as always, I want to give a big thank you to the good folks in the T Squadron. Look at these beautiful people. Look at all these beautiful names, and hey, if you would like to join these beautiful people, there are now 2 ways to do so. The first is by hitting that Patreon link in the description, and the second is by hitting that join button right beside the sub button to get a badge next to your name, some emotes to spam in the comments, and of course your name scrolling past the screen. So if that sounds cool to you, go ahead and hit that join button or check out that Patreon link. Either way, it is super appreciated. With that said, everybody, I'm gonna go get hyped for another friggin' week of waiting for Kaisen. This show is hitting, and it's hitting hard. But until next week, you stay classy, AniTube, and wash your dang hands.